Today we are going to take a look at some of the most pathetic fanboy excuses for having to pay for online multiplayer that I found in the comment section on my recent video on why PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live should be free in terms of online multiplayer functionality, as well as basic social features like party chat messaging and friends list, things that are offered 100% free to PC gamers across various platforms on the PC. You know, in making that video, I thought to myself that maybe, just maybe, that this was something that gamers as a whole could get behind and try to improve to make the industry a better place for everyone. But I guess there are some people out there who actually think it's a good thing for gamers to be forced into paying a fee simply to access the online servers paid for and maintained by the developers of a game you already went out and bought. Now, I want to make this clear first and foremost, this is not in any way an attack on console gamers or a pro PC video in general. I myself am a console gamer. The only PC gaming I do is on my Razer Blade laptop, and I don't really play too many games on it. This video is all about calling out the clowns that even when a company is blatantly ripping them off, they still refuse to cast aside their love and infatuation with a particular brand, or in this case, piece of plastic. There's nothing wrong with liking a particular console or platform more than another, but to defend even the indefensible serves to no one's benefit, especially your own. So we're going to have some fun with this, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get to our first comment of the day. These services are incredibly good for the gaming industry as they help maintain servers, allow companies to continue to push out patches, and keep console software updated, along with helping to put in place hack prevention systems. They are factually needed for consoles to exist. Oh god, the ignorance is spewing from this comment, and I don't even think a single thing he said is even remotely correct. Sure, one could argue that subscriptions are good for the gaming industry, but only for the console manufacturers. Developers and consumers see no benefit whatsoever from people being forced to pay Microsoft and Sony simply to access the online servers paid for by the developers of a game you already went out and paid for. Developers don't get a cut of that subscription fee at all, so I fail to see how it helps them push out patches. Plenty of games on Xbox One and PS4 have hackers, and in most cases, it's the developers themselves that are responsible for anti-hacking measures to begin with, given that they are in control of their own multiplayer servers. I really can't understand this claim that subscription services restricting online play are factually needed for consoles to exist. What about consoles like the PS3 and damn near every other console that came before it, of course with the exception of Xbox? Those consoles did not have multiplayer subscription services, and they existed with no problem at all. Hell, even the Nintendo Switch existed for over a year at this point, and it's only now implementing a paid online service, but by your logic, it should have been impossible for that to happen. Your comment is completely misinformed, and you really have no clue what the hell you're talking about. Every single claim you make is just complete and utter bullshit. Incorrect. Entirely incorrect. You're not simply paying to play online. Unlike with personal computers, the consoles live and die by what their manufacturers do. If you have issues with your multiplayer on a PC, you might look at the gaming company, the maker of the OS, your hardware, your drivers, etc. If you have an issue with your multiplayer on a console, you blame Microsoft or Sony. As well, unlike PC, the console manufacturers don't simply give you online access. You already have that without paying for it. Instead, they sell you a service. This service costs money to operate and improve. What does the service do? Something your computer won't do without the services of one or more third-party businesses, each with their own method of monetization. These services include matchmaking, club organization hubs, recording, streaming game footage, communication with other players, including notifications, progress monitoring, achievement monitoring, free games every month, weekly game discounts, personal page/profile management, etc. Even Steam doesn't handle all of this, although it does handle most of it. Alright, so let's take a break and address what he said so far. So what the hell is he actually trying to say here? If you have issues with multiplayer, it's Microsoft and Sony's fault, but yet we pay them for the service at the same time? What I take away from this is that all multiplayer issues on consoles arise from the hardware manufacturers, and because they sell us a service, that's okay? Shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't it be like that if we buy a service from them, it should work better than the free options? That's the only logical way to look at it. Why pay more for an inferior service service, then go out to name a bunch of services that are all on PC free of charge in better forms than anything found on console. Sure, Steam doesn't offer everything, but part of the appeal of PC is being able to pick what works for you, unlike on console. On Xbox One, you can't stream from your console to YouTube because Microsoft doesn't want you to do that. Instead, they're more focused on making you want to stream from Mixer, their own streaming service. On PC, there's no limitations set by the hardware manufacturer. You can do what you want, when you want, and whatever services appeal to you, you can use them, but then you continue on. Those services have a cost. Microsoft and Sony can either transfer the entire cost to the game manufacturers like Steam does, they can rely solely on ads, or they can offer subscriptions to help pay for the services and its upgrades while augmenting with marginal costs for game distribution and minimal advertising. As well, since it's a single service that works for all multiplayer games on the given console, you don't have to sign into Battle.net, Origin, Ubisoft, or any other such place if you simply want to play online. All updates are handled through the console company as well. They even handle cheating and security issues. Maybe you want all that stuff for free. Fine, be prepared to pay more for your console and for every online game you play. After all, you wouldn't want to be the team doing all that work without getting paid a dime for it. At this point, you really have no clue what the hell you're talking about, and it's just blatantly obvious. All gaming platforms, be it Steam, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, they all take a cut from every single game sold on their platform. End of story. Xbox One on the dashboard consistently has advertisements for movies and a bunch of random shit that no one really cares about, like banks. Yes, you heard me right. Banks. This is a picture I took from my very own Xbox One dashboard, and you can see right there, I got an ad for a fucking bank. Sure, it may be inconvenient to have to log into your account once on your computer for each separate launcher for certain games out there, but at least you're not paying to access the multiplayer portion of the game you already bought through that service. The claim that all updates are handled through a console company is a negative. That means that Microsoft and Sony have to first approve a patch before a developer can implement it, meaning the console version of a game in many cases either gets the patch later or in some cases never at all. Just look at mod support from Bethesda on games for PS4. The way you end this shows your ignorance and blind loyalty to a business practice that only hurts you as a consumer. Why do I care if a corporation has budgeting issues and can't pay the team that works on a service that gives no benefit outside of what's already free on PC? That's just bad business on their part. You make almost no valid point. Sure, it's more convenient to just put your game in on console and you can play with your Xbox Live or PSN account, but guess what? It's really not that big a deal at the end of the day. It is not hard to log into your account and then click save password. I mean, honestly, you're making this seem like it's rocket science when it's not. So sure, there is that convenience factor, but overall, you have no valid points whatsoever. Oh god, this is going to be a pain in the ass to read. But you're forgetting that Xbox and Sony sell console at a loss and make it up by subscriptions. Steam don't need to charge for services because you build or buy own PC, so no loss for Steam. That why it's free. You sound like a freaking caveman trying to speak English, but whatever. No they don't. Where the hell did you get that from? A quick search will tell you the complete opposite, and keep in mind that this is from the beginning of the generation. The only time a console manufacturer typically loses money on hardware, because as time goes on, the components get cheaper and cheaper, just like with any outdated technology on the market. So would you look at that? Sony was making money off of every single PlayStation 4 sold from the beginning of this generation. It may not be much, but it's still making money. And what a surprise, Microsoft is in the exact same boat. Who would have believed? I mean, it's not like they're in business or anything and wouldn't want to lose money, but this just proves you're completely false, okay? They were making money off of every single console sold from the very beginning. That's it. And just to go ahead and further disprove your point and remove any credibility whatsoever you have, the PlayStation 3, I believe, lost several $100s with every single unit sold, but yet Sony did not have a subscription service on the PS3 until the last 2 years or so of the console's life cycle, and they made their money back by selling software on their platform. That is how they recoup the loss, because they make a royalty for every single game sold on their platform, and that's how Xbox, Microsoft, Sony, and Steam make the majority of their money. That is how consoles make a profit. So it's completely false. You have no clue what the hell you're talking about, and any semblance of an argument you have is completely null and void. You are completely misinformed on this topic, and a simple Google search would have fixed any confusion you had on this, but yet you couldn't do that. You just had to spout your ignorance. Oh, well, would you look at that? Another one. I agree with you. However, I think you're missing one piece of the puzzle. Microsoft sell Xbox Ones, S, and X at a loss. That's why no one can build a PC using brand new parts of equal specifications at the same price of an Xbox One X. They then reclaim their losses via Xbox Live subscriptions. Printer companies do the same thing. They sell their printers for cheap and make back their money on purchases of ink. That's why they recommend you buy their ink instead of third-party ink supplies. It feels like we talked about this before somewhere, I don't know where, but it doesn't seem like Microsoft takes a loss on their consoles, and they even released the Xbox One X a year later after it was announced in order to get a cheaper price on the components to avoid taking a loss. Now, I'm not really sure what printers have to do with consoles, given that they appeal to an entirely different market and have almost no similar functionality whatsoever, but let's go ahead and stick with this analogy. You claim that printer companies sell their printers at a loss in order to later make money off of the ink cartridges. Okay, but in this case, Sony and Microsoft don't sell their consoles for a loss, and then they make money off of every single game that's bought on their platform from a royalty that every single developer has to pay for the privilege of having their game on their platform. So I really don't understand this whole analogy to printers, and I don't really think you understand the business model of consoles. The subscription service revenue is icing on the cake, the cherry on the sundae. It does nothing more than to further pad Microsoft and Sony's wallets. It's completely unnecessary, and consoles have existed for decades without that business model. So I really just don't get why this is something that you think is absolutely necessary. But the thing you don't seem to realize is all console makers are selling their consoles at a loss. They have to make up for it somehow. That's how business works. This is about trying to earn their money back while it's giving people a platform to play on. The games with Gold or PlayStation Plus gigs are just a plus. Let me repeat myself for the third and final time here. They are not selling their consoles at a loss. They are making money on every single console sold. Now repeat after me. Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony make money on every single console sold. End of story. Is $6.99 a month so hard to part with? Would you rather lesser services for free? It's not so much a matter of price, but rather a matter of principle. While $60 a year is mere pocket change when you really break it down, it doesn't change the fact that it's still a bad business practice. Claiming you would get lesser services for free is only on the fault of Microsoft and Sony. Steam does it just fine and provides all the same functionality to PC gamers with no membership fee. You should hold Microsoft and Sony to a higher standard and not just let them get away with treating you, the customer, like trash. It's inexcusable and indefensible to try and claim that Microsoft and Sony should charge for online multiplayer when Steam, a company that has far more people playing on its multiplayer servers, does it free of cost and offers the exact same functionality. These subscriptions only exist in order to pad Microsoft and Sony's wallets, and that is just it. There is no added benefit when you really look at what these services are providing to you, the consumer, that you can't get elsewhere for free. So while the price, yes, it's not the worst thing in the world, it still doesn't change the fact that the principle of this entire situation is that you are supporting an anti-consumer business practice that should never be defended. The reason Steam has free basic online functionality is because they're essentially a marketplace. Valve doesn't own or license your PC. When it comes to Xbox and PlayStation, Microsoft and Sony own the rights to those boxes. Every piece of hardware is certified by them, and every piece of firmware is maintained by them. They are providing you a stable platform to play games on, playing online, which includes certifying servers for those platforms, and basically turning your box into a dumb PC for a fraction of the cost. It's not anti-consumer. You are using a service provided from Xbox and PlayStation, using their boxes indefinitely or until the next generation comes out, which requires firmware updates, certification, etc., which is not covered by the sticker price of those consoles. That membership fee is a license to use their services online. That's how services work. It's not greed, it's a business model for a service that you use. It seems like every time someone spends money, it's anti-consumer, which is the stupidest thing in the world. So I'll leave this analogy. You don't demand Starbucks to stop selling coffee because people have coffee makers at home. The reason why you get Starbucks in the first place is that you don't have to make it, and in exchange for not having to make it, you pay to cover the cost of the coffee, the cup, the barista's wage, and everything else that went into making that cup of coffee. So everything you said I've basically already covered at this point, but let's have some fun with this analogy you ended with. Starbucks is a premium experience, and that's why people enjoy going there. You get a better product than what most people can get at home. PC in most cases is the better product compared to consoles, but almost everything that makes it better is offered free of charge. The more appropriate analogy I would have used to describe this using Starbucks is that you go to Starbucks and you pay full price for a cup of coffee, you get your coffee, however when you go to take a sip you're notified that you need to pay extra in order to use, or in better terms, consume the product you just paid for. That is what subscriptions are at their very core on consoles. Sure, you could argue the convenience aspect of a console in relation to the Starbucks analogy, but that's subjective to say the least. Some people find it much more convenient to use a PC versus a console. It's all up to the user, but I get where you were trying to go with this. It's just you couldn't really connect the dots in the proper way. Sure, people go to Starbucks for the convenience aspect, but most people go there because they can get stuff that they cannot get anywhere else, and they are more than willing to pay a premium price in order to get a better product. But when you look at what console provides versus PC, are you really even getting a better product? And that's where I think you're misguided on this. 1. They'll lose a lot of money. 2. There will be a bunch of poor scrubs. 3. Worse connection. Why is it any concern to me how much money Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo lose? What does that do for me, the consumer? I don't own stock in any of the console manufacturers, so their inability to properly generate revenues and remain profitable is of little to no interest to me as a consumer. How is it a bad thing that more people will be able to play online and at the same time populate multiplayer games? Also, you sound like a dick for saying you don't want poor people playing online. Since when has economic status had anything to do with enjoying video games? Most connection issues also arise on the part of the developers who pay for and maintain their own servers, not Microsoft and Sony. All three of your points are completely irrelevant to this topic. Oh my god, this video appeared on my recommendations and I just had to watch it to see how absurd it was going to be, and I have to congratulate you on choosing such a controversial topic just to get those easy views. Looks at your other videos, oh I get it, you're making clickbait, maybe not clickbait per se, videos that appeal to the majority of gamers with certain keywords and such. Saying paying for multiplayer is anti-consumer simply shows your level of ignorance, and you are even comparing it to Steam just so you can appeal to even more people. Your strategy is pretty disgusting. When I first read this comment, I really just couldn't help but laugh. Apparently, because I make videos on topics that interest me and just so happen to interest a lot of other people as well, I'm somehow resorting to clickbait. Honestly, I feel like my video titles are very representative of what the video is actually about, and when you use my paying for multiplayer's anti-consumer video as an example, it's literally what the entire video is about. I just highlighted my reasoning for why paying for online multiplayer on console is not beneficial in any way to the consumer. Not really sure what else you wanted from that video. Also, did you ever think that maybe I compared it to Steam for maybe, I don't know, the simple fact that it's the single largest platform for PC gaming? I mean, that sounds like a pretty plausible scenario if you ask me, but then again, what do I know? I just made the video. Okay, time for some rapid fire here. The money goes to servers. Servers cost money to maintain. Why do you think the Switch has such bad online? Most Steam games use LAN or user PC TP host servers. Dude, servers and employees and power isn't cheap. Unfortunately, they have servers to keep up, so deal with it. Entitled sack of shit, someone has to pay for the servers. I was honestly very surprised by the sheer number of people trying to use this to call me out, and I'm not sure why people actually think that Microsoft and Sony pay for the servers for online games. I assure you, that could not be any further from the truth. Activision, for example, pays for and maintains the servers for Call of Duty on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Microsoft and Sony do not give any fraction of the proceeds from their online subscription services to the developers who actually pay for the online servers for their games. That means that the online servers for the games you buy are paid for by the proceeds of the sale of that game. Microsoft and Sony pay nothing in maintaining them whatsoever. So let's just sit back and think about this for a second. If the servers are so expensive that basically they require the subscription fee just in order to keep the lights on, why is it the PC players have access to the multiplayer for free on Steam, Origin, Blizzard, or even Xbox Live for the same games that console players have to pay to get access to? It's because it's not necessary whatsoever. The only argument that I could somewhat acknowledge regarding this claim is that maybe 1 to 2% at the very most of the subscription fees go to Microsoft and Sony's first-party multiplayer games. But for 99% of the games either on Xbox One or PS4 that have online functionality, the developers don't see a single penny from the revenue of those subscriptions. Maybe they're talking about the servers for social functionality like cross-game party chat or messages, but even so, Steam offers the exact same thing in that regard simply from the money they make off the sale of each game on their store. Why can't Microsoft and Sony do the same? There's no excuse why they can't do the same other than greed. No one, if forced to pay anything. Good God, it took me way too many attempts to read that abortion of a sentence. I mean, come on, man. You got 2 major typos in a 7-word sentence. Come on. Your intelligence level is obviously not there, but this is not true whatsoever. Microsoft and Sony are in fact forcing you to pay a fee simply to play part of a game you already paid for. When you buy a game like Overwatch, you fully expect to play online because that's the only thing the game has to offer. On PC, Xbox, and PS4, everyone pays the same price for a game, the only difference being that PC players can play it with no added cost. PS4 and Xbox gamers are required by Sony and Microsoft to pay an additional cost to even play the game they just bought. Oh, but that's not being forced to pay, right? What a complete idiot. This guy's a dumb son of a bitch. Definitely, not wanting to pay for something on one platform that's completely free on another makes me dumb. Enjoy being a loyal lapdog to your favorite corporation. I hope it pays off for you one day. I'm fine with paying for secure, hacker-free servers. Last time I checked there were hackers on Xbox and PlayStation, but sure. One could argue that there are less hackers on Xbox and PlayStation versus PC, but that's primarily due to the actual closed nature of the consoles themselves. PC being a very open platform, it's only natural that it will be easier for hackers, so I'll give you that little bit. But in terms of the servers not allowing hacking, it's completely up to the developers. When you report someone for cheating, say in Black Ops 3 on Xbox One, Activision, the owner and operator of the game's servers, would then issue punishment. That's why many older games are packed full of hackers on console. Go play MW3, Black Ops 1, or Black Ops 2 on backwards compatibility for Xbox One, and there are a ton of hackers and they will never be banned. That's because the developers just stop monitoring those older games. That is not the responsibility of Sony and Microsoft, so this claim is ill-informed. Yes, hacking is less of a problem on console, but that would be the case with or without the subscription. No, you're just a really cheap person. Yep, that's it, exposed. You hit the nail on the head, man. This is once again more of a case of principle over price. Yes, $60 a year is not much money in the grand scheme of things, but I would much rather not have to spend that money unnecessarily just to unlock an artificial barrier set up as a method for corporations to milk their customers for even more money. So I guess in not wanting to spend unnecessary money that somehow makes me cheap, so be it. I just consider that to be smart. Microsoft and Sony are probably thrilled that you would rather give them $60 a year simply out of fear of being labeled a cheap ass. All you retarded gamers just want free shit. If calling out corporations for an antiquated business practice that offers nothing to consumers compared to other free options on the market makes me a retarded gamer, then I would hate to think what that makes you. Plus, free shit would mean we'd be getting something outside of what we already paid for. If I buy Destiny 2, for instance, I bought that game for the online functionality that Bungie provides the servers for, and Microsoft and Sony do nothing but restrict access to it. What exactly would I be getting for free that I shouldn't already have access to? But anyway, guys, that is all the comments I have for today. As always, if I can get enough comments in order to make a part 2 and you guys want it to happen, I will be more than happy to oblige. I really enjoy doing this series. It allows me to further develop my stance on a certain issue and get some good laughs at the same time, and I hope you guys enjoy it because that's the whole point of YouTube. Let me know though if you would be interested in a part 2 or not in the comment section below, and tell me what your favorite comment was from the many we went over today. Hit the like button if you enjoyed and subscribe for future videos like this one, and make sure to click the bell for notifications so you are notified every single time I upload a brand new video. Follow me on Twitter at Griffin_gaming or click the link in the description below. That is by far the best place to get into contact with me or ask me a question or whatever you want to do. Plus, I will be 100 times more likely to see it there versus the YouTube comment section. So go follow me there at Griffin_gaming or click the link in the description below. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.